I am Kara Martin, and this is the Crestview Elementary case study. We have Miss Wilson, who's the principal at Crestview Elementary. We have Miss Horton, who's the first grade teacher there. She's also been Teacher of the Year, and Miss Horton's been there for quite a few years. Judy is in Miss Horton's class, and Mr. Stafford, who's Judy's dad, has now reached out to Miss Wilson to schedule a parent-teacher conference because Miss Horton hasn't been replying to notes home. Parents are concerned with the students in Miss Horton's class because they claim that she is verbally and emotionally abusive to the students. Let's look at some other details. What we do know about Miss Horton is that she's a seasoned first grade teacher. She's former Teacher of the Year. She also is having some home life struggles right now. She has 2 teenage boys. Her husband recently left. And Miss Horton has been failing to communicate with parents. They've been requesting conferences, and they've been sending notes to her and not getting any kind of response back. What we don't know, though, is how long Ms. Horton has actually taught first grade. We also don't know what support structures are in place to coach Ms. Horton. Yes, she was Teacher of the Year, but are there other structures in place so that she can continue her professional growth? Are there other issues going on at home? We know about it a little bit, but does she have an aging parent? Are the boys struggling in school? Seems to be probably some more things connected to this separation that she's experiencing. And then what is the communication policy for the school? Ms. Horton has failed to communicate with parents, but what exactly is the policy and what exactly should she be doing? Ms. Wilson is the principal. She has 25 staff total. She taught for 13 years and has been leading this building for 3. Ms. Wilson, we do not know, though, how long she has been at this school or this district. We also do not know what kind of support Ms. Wilson is receiving as an administrator, and we don't know Ms. Wilson's family background. We can assume she's married, but what outside pressures does she have as she walks into the building every day, too? And just the overall situation. We know that Crestview Elementary has a good history with attendance, test scores, and parent support. The colleagues know a lot about Ms. Horton's home life, and they're starting a new reading program. What we don't know is what previous structures did the principal have in place, because when Ms. Wilson came in, she just left what the old principal had in place intact. We also don't know what support structures are in place for Ms. Wilson as an administrator, who's relatively new. And what is Ms. Horton's disagreement with the reading program that they are piloting? We know she's dissatisfied, but what is her biggest frustration or complaint about the program? So our biggest problem is that Ms. Wilson is overwhelmed, and undersupported, and Ms. Horton has kept the status quo and has a little documentation. So our plan of action, we're going to address 3 specific areas: the academics, the student-parent culture, and the staff culture. We need some classroom observations, some more training and support with the reading curriculum, set up a coaching cycle, some de-escalation techniques, a communication plan, intentional culture building, and relationship repair. But these all flow in together. Classroom observations will lead to a coaching cycle, which will also identify areas of needed training and support within the curriculum. De-escalation techniques can also be part of that coaching cycle, and there'll be feedback that is provided on the classroom observations. Communication plan is just a simple procedure or system that needs to be put in place. And then intentional culture building and relationship repair, they build in ones to repair relationships and we'll start working on that culture. So why is this what's best for students? The case study stated that Ms. Wilson had been doing regular classroom visits, but those failed to reassure the parents. So that means our classroom observations need to be documented better, and they need to be happening more consistently. Crestview was chosen to pilot a new reading program, but it never mentioned anything about what additional training and support was provided with this new reading resource. And in the coaching cycle, Ms. Horton had been spoken to or had a conference with several times, and those conferences did nothing to change her behavior. So was there really a coaching cycle in place that actually focused on behavior change and next steps and reflection? For that parent-student culture, Ms. Horton was screaming at kids when they made mistakes. So we just need to work on de-escalation strategies. Emotions are not wrong. We just have to manage ourselves and regulate ourselves within those emotions. And then again, that communication plan should refuse to hold parent-teacher conferences. We have to have an expectation and a system in place. Then staff culture. They're talking about Miss Horton's private life, and it seems to me that this private life is personal and wasn't actually allowed to be shared. So we need to work on that culture building and the confidentiality and the staff relationship. And also, Mr. Stafford did not shake Miss Horton's hand. He shook Miss Wilson's hand, the principal, but he never shook the teacher's hand. So that shows me that there's a break in the relationship, and we need to work on repairing that relationship between the teacher and parent, and probably that teacher and administrator. So as I was reading the case study, I was thinking several things, feeling several things, and valuing several things came to mind. So I was thinking, when we initially learned that Miss Horton's husband had left, why did nobody ever address the staff that was talking about Miss Horton, nor did they go and ask Miss Horton if everything was okay? If I was Miss Horton in that situation, I would feel very outcast or segregated from the staff. This is going on in my personal life and nobody cares and they're just talking about me behind my back. That shows me that they don't value me as an employee. I also was thinking where the kids were, and parents were stating that the kids were feeling verbally and emotionally abused. As a first grader, what I perceive is different than an adult I meant to actually give off. So we need to just work on that perception and reality. This is what I mean to come across to the students, so we make sure that's how they actually perceive it. It's hard when we're working with first graders because there's a difference between an adult and a child and how we perceive reality. But my perceptions are still my reality. So as child's perceptions are still their reality. And it's important that we value that, a child's reality, and that we also value the adult's reality, and that we work on bringing those both together. What I feel is unresolved though about this case is that nobody ever stopped and talked to Miss Horton. Nobody asked, how are you doing? Nor did anybody offer help. How are you doing? How can I help you? And I also find it frustrating that Miss Wilson had no documentation to prove that she had been in the classroom. She told parents she had been in the classrooms, but there was no observations forms that proved that she had been in the classroom frequently. So an educational leader promotes the academic success and personal well-being of every student by enhancing instructional capacity. So we're going to enhance our academic and success of students by having that consistent observation documentation using Marzano's strategies. And that's going to provide clear and consistent observation feedback. The past few weeks have been regular, but had the last 3 years been regular observations. So using Marzano's evaluation model, there are very specific things that we're getting feedback on that we're looking for. Using Marzano's observation model will feed right into a coaching dynamic. So we're going to work on a coaching cycle where we have time for talking about the next steps and time spent in reflection. Ms. Horton in the parent-teacher conference seemed flustered and she was trying to prepare in the middle of the conference for that conference. It was like she left the conversation the day before and didn't actually have a real plan of action, so she didn't know what to do, which is a perfect example of what a coaching cycle provides for teachers. It provides a plan of action, next steps. So not only do the observations that we're leading to a coaching cycle, but we're going to also provide more training with that reading program. She already said that she was unhappy with the new program. Negative reactions tend to mean that somebody is uneasy about the upcoming change. We need to provide more support and more training for her. So the emotional well-being of students. By providing de-escalation techniques, we're evaluating that your emotions exist and your emotions are not wrong, but there are ways to handle our emotions, and we're models of how to handle our emotions, how to express our emotions appropriately in any given situation. Also having that communication plan again, I think that's crucial. What do we as a school say? What are we going to do when we get a parent note? How many hours is appropriate before we return written notes? How many hours is appropriate before we schedule a parent-teacher conference? We just need to make sure that that is a system that is in place. And then intentional culture building. Her posture is defensive. She is very unsafe. She's feeling unsafe in this school. She's probably feeling unsafe in her home life. So Miss Horton is feeling unsafe. A safe space for staff then becomes a safe space for students. So here's the three things that we're just going to really do. We're going to do consistent observations with that feedback using Marzano's model, which will lead us into that coaching cycle and the curriculum implementation and providing feedback and plans of actions and reflection time. And that will then build a confident educator with better emotional regulation and better emotional modeling for our students. Happy teachers equal happy students. Happy students make happy teachers. And those are my references. Thank you.